I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Christian, you tell me. But is she not seen as box office poison now because of all of her antics?
You know, it's kind of a mixed track record. She's still fairly young. Her West Side Story debut was not a hit, and that was a Spielberg movie, so that was kind of surprised. But if you're a studio, if you're a director, if you're a casting director, you've got to think twice or three times before hiring her. Listen, she's talented, she's attractive, she's got skill, but there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work. She was plucked out of obscurity by Steven Spielberg. All you say is thank you, Mr. Spielberg, and you keep saying that for the next 50 years.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for Infitata is the only global solution.
This wasn't just a flop, it was a total disaster. A textbook example of how to drive fans away and leave theaters completely deserted. Rachel Zegler, the so-called lead, showed up with more ego than talent and teamed up with Disney's Over the Top remake plan to make sure this one sank fast. Disney threw down expecting a $150 million global launch, betting big on nostalgia and Ziegler's so-called star power. What did they actually get a week $43 million in the U.S.? That's not just bad. That's a full-on meltdown, no hype, no crowds, just empty seats and awkward silence. Why? Because people weren't having it with Ziegler's behavior. Folks were already side-eyeing her after she spent years trash-talking the 1937 classic, calling it weird and outdated back in 2022, like she was too good for it. Then she went off on a political...
It just doesn't make any sense.
It makes a little bit more sense.
You can gaslight people so easily. The two stars hate each other. This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Rant in 2024, and that's when things really blew up. Megyn Kelly clapped back hard, and the backlash went wild on X. This brat, she said, and boycott trends started. Flying one fan even posted, "She's why I'm skipping it. Can't stand her, that attitude straight up." Bad vibes. Disney thought casting her would make them look edgy and modern, but it backfired big time. Instead of a hit, they got roasted and lost millions. In the process, let's talk about that remake. They didn't just reimagine Snow White, they tore it apart. The original was a sweet, simple fairy tale with charm. A kind princess, a charming prince, and 7 quirky dwarfs. The 2025 version. A preachy, soulless mess that barely even nods to the original. Ziegler even bragged in 2022, "We didn't do that." Love story. Crap. She smirked, like she'd saved the day, when really she wrecked the whole vibe. The prince basically erased. He went from being the hero to some background extra. No one cared about the evil queen. Her jealousy got rewritten into some random power struggle that made zero sense. Disney's execs pushed modern values so hard they scrubbed out everything that made the original magical. And don't get started on the music. The OG had timeless bangers like Hi-Ho and Someday, My Prince, Will Come the remake soundtrack. A confused, chaotic mess that didn't even match the scenes. Total train wreck. Another track mirrors Lie turned into a gloomy, dragged-out rant from the evil queen. And let's be real, not even Guff's voice could rescue it. Fans on YouTube went off top comment. Snow White's a musical, not a lecture hall. Ouch. Ziegler hyped the soundtrack back in 2023, calling it modern. Not corny, but her attitude came through loud and clear. She acted like the original songs were beneath her, and people noticed critics weren't feeling it either. The new songs didn't just flop. They clashed with the whole story. They felt forced, heavy, and straight up, joy, nobody's humming these tracks. There's no spark, no soul, just a preachy tone with a giant feminist hammer that smashed all the magic right out. And the guys they got done, dirty bad. The prince, once a key player, got downgraded to some creepy background weirdo back in 2022. Zegler even called him a stalker, and Disney ran with it. Then came the dwarves. They were turned into workers, just grinding away. While Snow White lectured them about inner strength, the whole film screamed anti-man energy, and Zelda kept doubling down in interviews. "This isn't about some guy saving her," she said. Acting like the classic tale was trash, just for including a male hero. Fans weren't having it. Where was the love, the teamwork, the charm? It was all girl boss talk, no fairy tale feel. And those dwarves, they got played 3 times over. First, Disney planned to cast real little people, just like the 1937 original. Then Peter Dinklage spoke out in early 2022, and suddenly Disney flipped scrapping that idea and replacing them with glowing CGI magical creatures that looked like bootleg video game avatars. Fans weren't buying it. Then, in the 2020 before reshoots, Disney changed course again, turning them into a diverse group of forest bandits. But guess what? They were still doing all the chores, while Snow White sat back like a boss. Strike 3 in the end. This new Snow White wasn't a kind-hearted lead. She came off like a smug supervisor, and those dwarfs, a CGI mess that confused everybody and satisfied no one. This movie flopped so hard, even families wanted nothing to do with it. Opening weekend was supposed to be packed. Kids in princess dresses, parents chasing that nostalgia buzz. But nope. And now she's trying to reinvent herself. Because there's been so much blowback, and you can only imagine the studio calls about this woman behind the scene. Like, oh my God, we're $242 million in. And our lead actress hates our film. Our actors are storyline. The lowest opening under 50 million of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had. But these guys at Disney, they're not that bright. They're not that smart. And we see that. Because they can't come up with any new IP, it was dead silent, that $87.3 million haul. Total embarrassment. Disney needed $150 million just to break even. And this came in way short once marketing costs hit. They're looking at losses pushing $150 million, and a big chunk of that blame. Yeah, it's landing squarely on Rachel Zegler's shoulders. Her rude, woke vibe had folks checking out before it even hit screens. She trashed the 1937 classic like it was beneath her. Then threw a loud political fit saying, "Screw you all," with her whole attitude. That kind of energy doesn't sell tickets. The feminist revamp didn't help either. Dads felt completely cut out. Mom said the magic was gone. One ex-user summed it up. "My daughter wanted songs, not speeches." Oof theaters reported mostly empty seats and Snow White merch just sitting there collecting dust. Those dwarf dolls, no one touched them. Even Disney's own numbers showed a massive drop, family attendance down 60% compared to the Cinderella remake. And at the center of it all, Zegler whole. "I'm better than this" attitude that rubbed everyone the wrong way. The promo tour, a total mess. Instead of hyping the movie, Zegler turned every interview into a lecture. Fans came for fairy tales, not finger. Wagging in one clip, she straight up said she wouldn't have let her boyfriend kiss her while she slept. Completely missing the point of the original, the internet exploded. People weren't mad at change. They were mad at the smugness. It wasn't just modern, it was bitter interviews that should have built. Buzz ended up tanking interest, TikTok clowning. Her interviews racked up millions of views with fans asking, why does she look like she hates the movie? She's starring in, even casual Disney. Lovers were turned off. One post said, she acts like she's embarrassed to be part of this. That vibe, it killed the magic before the film even hit theaters. Sweetie, You're being paid $25 million, and you're on TV saying your bosses suck. So Rachel Zegler, maybe keep your mouth shut. I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Christian, you tell me. But is she not seen as box office poison now? Because of all of her antics, you know. It's kind of a mixed track record. She's still fairly young. Her West Side Story debut was not a hit, and that was a Spielberg movie. So that was kind of surprise, but if by the time the film dropped, Disney's PR team was basically putting out fires, non-stop hashtags like "Not My Snow White" and "boycott." Disney trended for weeks. It was clear people didn't feel seen or heard. Old school fans felt insulted, while new viewers were confused about what the film was even trying to be. Every attempt at damage control just made things worse. Zegler's Instagram replies got brutal, with comments flooded by clown emojis, and "you ruined it." Takes even influencers who normally back Disney stayed quiet, or worse, joined the dragging. The film became a pop culture punchline, not a celebration. Instead of uniting generations, it sparked division. All that money Disney dropped trying to rebrand a beloved classic. It bought them. A PR nightmare. Even inside Hollywood, folks started whispering who thought this was a good idea. Became the question of the season. Directors, writers, even ex-Disney staff started throwing shade online. Anonymous crew members leaked stories about behind the scenes, tension claiming Zig acted like a diva on set. Rumors flew that she constantly clashed with creative teams pushing for edits, changing lines, even trying to cut scenes with the prince entirely. It got so messy, some insiders claimed major rewrites happened mid-shoot just to calm the chaos. All that drama, it bled onto the screen. The final product felt stitched together, uneven and cold. One critic called it a Frankenstein of conflicting visions. Ouch, the fan. Backlash didn't just hit ticket sales, it wrecked the merch game too. Retailers expected big sales with Snow White dolls, dresses, and soundtrack bundles, but instead, full shelves and clearance racks. Parents weren't buying it. Literally, some stores even pulled the merchandise early after seeing zero traction. Online fans mocked the designs. "She doesn't even look like Snow White," one viral post said, showing side-by-sides of the classic versus the remake. Collector groups refused to pick up the new figures. Even diehard Disney fans skipped it, and the soundtrack didn't crack the charts. The whole rollout went silent fast. Disney thought they had a cash cow, but this cow didn't moo. It fizzled out hard now. The big question, what's Disney going to do after this mess? Internally, rumors say execs are panicking, rethinking upcoming remakes, and hitting pause on anything with too much reimagining. Investors aren't happy, and some are calling this a lesson learned the hard way. Meanwhile, Zegler's reputation took a serious hit. Studios started quietly backing off, and insiders say future roles are getting pulled or put on. Ice One source said she went from rising star to risk overnight. The fallout wasn't just box office, it was career damage for Disney. It's a wake-up call. You can modernize a classic, but if you disrespect what made it, timeless fans won't just walk away. They'll run that woke heavy vibe. Didn't just turn people off, it straight up turned theaters into ghost towns. No magic, no money, just one big fat zero. Well, not exactly zero, more like a 1. That's literally the score folks are tossing around on IMDb. Brutal. Hollywood's buzzing. And Disney, they're reportedly freaking out behind the scenes. Word is execs are melting down fast. One insider spilled. They're scared to touch classics. Now, layoffs might be coming, and all those big remake plans. Shelve this flop shook the whole empire. Even the stock took a hit, 3% down, right after the premiere. That might not sound huge, but for Disney, that's millions wiped out in a blink. And Zegler, she's become the face of this failure. One casting director didn't hold back. She's got a voice, sure, but at the box office, she's poison. Rumors are swirling. She's already been dropped from a Hunger Games sequel, nothing confirmed yet. But with her attitude and reputation, it's not a shock. She's gone viral online, memes everywhere, dubbing her Zegler, the fairy tale, and not in a good way. Flop of the decade, could Disney have saved it by cutting ties after the whole Trump drama? Maybe, but by then it was too late. Zegler dragged the whole thing down with her. Her entitled vibe, mixed with Disney's heavy-handed agenda, turned what should have been a guaranteed hit into a full-blown cautionary tale. A fairy tale with no fairy dust. This wasn't a reimagining. It was a wreck. Zegler took a classic and tore it apart with her woke rants and snarky interviews. The beloved characters gutted. The dwarfs were a confused mess. The song's trash. And that forced feminist edge, it killed the charm. Cold fans aren't just disappointed, they're mad. Now, Zegler's career is on shaky ground. Disney's nursing major losses, and fans are over it. All of it. Her attitude. The changes. The vibe, it's all off. Will Disney finally get the hint? This ain't a happy ending. It's a major wake-up call. Let us know what you think. Could Disney have saved this? Or was Zegler's chaos too deep to fix? Drop a comment, hit that like button, subscribe. For more wild takes and share it with someone who needs the tea. See you in the next one.